First things first, the NHL draft. Obviously, we were there to react live for the ninth overall pick, but just wanted to get your thoughts not only on Murtka, but some of the other players that were drafted, the entire process, everything draft related that you wanted to get out there. Walt, what do you say?
I think we kind of covered like that Redeem Mirko pick in depth when they selected him. Like he's not the highest ceiling of defenseman. He does fit like an organizational need. He is kind of a safe projection to an NHL role, but he's still so young and moldable that you really don't know what his game's going to look like at the NHL level, or honestly, what his ceiling or floor will be. So yeah, it's a pick that it's weird because he's still so raw, but he's still like a pretty safe bet to become an NHLer. So he's a weird mix of a prospect. And, you'll see a lot of like national draft ranking stuff being like, oh, it's a little bit of a reach here. I don't think it was that crazy of a reach considering the talent on the board, but it's definitely not one of those picks where you're like, oh, yeah, this is a guy we'll be able to build the franchise around. Like it's more of a pick that like this is a player who could fill out the lineup, could be a good complementary piece to the guys we currently have. And then later on in the draft, second round pick, obviously traded. I thought that was kind of a bummer. Did get a decent player back in Timmins, though. So still think they could have gone for a cheaper price than a high second, but it's the Buffalo Sabres we're talking about. And then third round, David Bukowski. I think this is a guy who some people probably think Mirka is when they see Mirka 6'6". Like Bukowski's a guy who he's physical, he's violent, he'll throw hits, even at times where he doesn't need to throw hits. He probably has like more of a bottom pair projection, but he's a fun physical player. And I think there is upside with him getting NHL minutes. So you'll always take that with a third round pick. And then, just looking like later in the draft, like Matush Kuharik, he's once again projects to more of a bottom lineup role. Then yeah, you really don't have too many like higher upside swings later in the draft. I think you have a lot of guys who could maybe with the right development, sneak their way into a few NHL games. They didn't pick a Russian goalie. They picked a Belarusian goalie, Evgeny Prokhorov. Almost messed up that pronunciation. They picked him in the 7th round. Just got picked by Flint today too in the OHL or the CHL import draft, so he could possibly be coming across the pond playing the OHL this season. Same thing with Kuharik. So, some interesting pieces to add to the Sabres pool. I still think it's kind of crazy. They made 3 7th-round picks and 2 4th-round picks. Like they didn't even try. There wasn't a guy they liked more than others to package those up and move up a little bit later in the draft. I guess not. But, they'll have a lot of lottery tickets to scratch off, I guess. Like just those dollar scratch offs. Like that's pretty much what those 7th-round picks are.
Kind of want to go back to what you said about Murtka and Bitkowski. And I want to reiterate that it seems like Bitkowski is the player that some people that might not know too much about Murtka think he is. Murtka is more of a aggressive in the sense of, not giving you a lot of time and space and using his reach. Take some like interesting angles to try to stop possession for the other team and stop rushes for the other team as well. Definitely a very raw prospect Murtka is, and you can see sometimes he gets a little tunnel vision, which is normal. It's going to happen. He just came over to the United States this past season, so he had a split season between Czech Pro League and then coming on over. Apparently, he thought his English was pretty good, but realized it wasn't as good, which, frankly, that's understandable. I'm a young kid, and I'm sure he'll pick that up. Just maybe when you heard Darlene the first time versus now kind of thing. It just takes time, and you can understand that as well. So
they got Prosper too in the AHL as a coach too, so that should help too. Yep. I don't know when he's making the jump over, but at least they have a guy that speaks his language. They won't try to Victor Antipin him in Rochester.
For sure, yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a good example. But yeah, with Murtka, on the defensive side, it's not like he's, he'll physically engage, but he's not blowing guys up. On the offensive side, he's not an Owen Power kind of, moving along the blue line and walking the blue line and making plays like that. You see a lot of more. He gets the puck at the point. He's either putting it back in the corner and getting it down low, or he's just taking a pretty low percentage shot, but at the same time, he's trying to get it towards the net. So it's not like he's doing anything crazy offensively, but a safe and solid player. And when it comes to Bedkowski, and that's pretty much the extent of my knowledge of these guys, I thought that was probably the best post-draft interview I've ever heard a Sabres prospect give. Maybe there's another guy out there that got drafted by Winnipeg like 4 years ago that gave a great one, but I personally thought that was fantastic. He's my personal favorite just for that sake, and that has nothing to do with on ice. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to his playing ability, it is a that's great if you take the body, but we also saw that with a player like Rasmus Ristolainen, and it was taking the body and pulling yourself out of the play. And that's the last thing that the Sabres want is, look, I crushed this guy, and or in general as a team, yeah, we didn't take any crap from anyone, and we got
I
into all
feel like the
these fights,
Sabres
and
do
look how
want
many
that
hits.
though.
But at the same
But
time,
their
like, it
off
doesn't
season, I
matter.
feel like they do want that.
But it doesn't matter if you do that all the time. You feel good about yourself, but you lost 5-2. You lost
It's
4-1.
fine
You
though. They're
lost.
tough to play against. That's
So
all.
like
That's the only
that's
thing that
that's where it comes
matters.
from. And that's not just one player. That's an organizational thing. So with Bedkowski, I hope it's just, kind of refining everything about his game, keeping that snarl, obviously, but at the same time, making sure he's not chasing hits because there's a time and place to be physical, and I'm sure he'll get his opportunity for that. So anything else about the draft players or anything else about the draft? Last question I was actually going to ask: do you agree with not taking Roger McQueen and taking Murtka simply because there were so many questions around McQueen's back issues?
Yeah, I definitely don't blame them for being, a little bit cautionary on taking a guy like McQueen. I do think his upside's still really high. I do think he has elements to his game that are a little similar to Tage too. So it's like if you have a guy like Tage, I feel like that'd be the perfect player to put under Tage's wing and kind of learn from him. But it's not like an egregious pick where it's like, oh, it's crazy they picked Mirko over McQueen. Like I could definitely
Yeah,
understand an argument in someone's draft rankings where they have Mirko ranked higher than a somewhat riskier pick in McQueen.
agreed. Agreed, and I think it was also a great thing that they immediately put him on a chopper and sent him to go hang out with like the Lightning McQueen thing out in Anaheim.
He's wearing number 95 too. That's pretty
That's
legendary.
as you should. If he didn't, I would have been upset. You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about? So, yeah, I think that's really cool. Big Cars fan over here. So, yeah, I just I can understand where they're going from. One, right-handed defenseman, commodity. Obviously, they were looking for that, and two, just the uncertainty of back issues. And yes, McQueen can look really good coming out of this draft, but it's high risk, high reward, and I can understand why they went with Murtka. And I don't think it was that much of a reach, too. I saw some people that cover draft prospects putting them in like the low 20s, just because there are certain things that they didn't necessarily like. I don't know, maybe that's a bit of a stretch, but I don't think the Sabres did anything crazy there. So